improving our public services, making sure that we've got adequately staffed police departments and firefighters, making sure their pay is competitive enough that they can actually recruit and address those staffing needs. The need to strengthen our public libraries. I've had a lot of positive feedback on the Discoveries Library at the mall. The need to address some infrastructure issues. We've got some traffic issues that we need to figure out answers to, whether that's through transit, whether that's through making more pedestrian routes available. There's probably so many things. Crownsville State Hospital Center, making sure that that does not turn into a giant development project. So many things, and if I didn't mention something that you're interested in, I look forward to hearing about it tonight, although there's probably another 50 that yes, pickleball, I'm here. I've been getting some pickleball emails, and tennis as well. So I look forward to hearing about what's most important to you tonight, and just thank you again for giving up your Thursday night at the end of a long week. You're here, and you are ready to tell us your thoughts, so thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Before I introduce the county executive, I would like to introduce Sergio Polanco, who is also a District 6 representative for the county executive's office. Sergio, would you wave to everybody? So if you have a problem, call Sergio, don't call Janice. So please give a warm welcome to our county executive, Stuart Pittman.
There's one thing I got to do to start. What is this?
Oh my God, oh dear.
You don't put styrofoam in front of Stuart Pittman and Lisa Ravian and The ban has not taken effect, but thanks to Lisa Ravian, it got onto the agenda, it got passed, and thanks to Stuart Pittman, it did not get vetoed. So we won't be seeing much styrofoam in Anne Arundel County. That was bad, Janice. And bottled water? That's next, right? Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the last of 7. We've done 7 of the, one in each county. Really? Yeah. Okay, I'll put it a little closer. This is the last of 7. We've done a budget town hall in each of the 7 county council districts, and I don't think you have the biggest turnout. You have the second biggest turnout, I think. I think the folks up at Severna Park beat you, but we got a great crowd tonight. And these have been, they've been a lot of fun for me. Hearing directly from the citizens about how people want their tax money spent is a lot more fun than hearing from the department heads about what they want. And that's what I do during the day. I've been having all the department heads come in with their budget requests and their supplementals and the capital improvements, and it's all numbers, and your head starts to spin. But when my head starts to spin and I hear all that, I start thinking back on what I heard in the budget town halls, and when you got to make choices, you go with the people. At least that's the way I do it. So this really does work. I want to hear, and I know Lisa wants to hear what you have to say. Doing these with the county council representative is really important, because we do have a county council that is going to be working very well and has been working well with the county executive, with our administration, and that's I think not happened in a while in Anne Arundel County, and it's going to make it easier to get things done. And I'm not just talking about the 4 Democrats, but also the 3 Republicans. We've been working well together. The 5 women instead of 7 men has been working pretty well too. And actually 4 of them are lawyers, or at least went to law school, including Lisa, which sometimes makes it difficult to get anything done, but we'll work through that as well. So I'm going to go through a brief slideshow here about where we are in the process. But I do want to say that we've been hearing a lot about education, a lot about police, a lot about fire, a lot about the environment, a lot about libraries, a lot about tennis. We haven't heard about pickleball till tonight, but Gavin Buckley warned me that you would be here. And we have a pickleball date that's gotten canceled twice, and we're working on rescheduling it. So I'm gonna beat him, even though I've never played. but I'm gonna try. Let me just show you where we are in the process. Some of these slides came off of our website. If you've gone to the AnneRoanoCounty.org, aacounty.org, go to the county executives page. There's a budget tool that you can go to that you can create your own budget. It's sort of like playing county executive, and you put in numbers and you take out numbers and you have to balance the budget. It's kind of fun. We're going to do it again next year, and it's going to have even more detail in it. But we are here in March, almost at the end of March, which is where the Planning Advisory Board has gone through all of the capital improvements and made recommendations. They've told us what they think is affordable in terms of spending this year for capital improvements. I'm doing the administrative review, which is hearing from all the department heads, and we've got a few more of those to go, where the budget office tells us what they think about the requests from each department. So they tell us what it costs to continue the services that we have with inflation and with raises in pay and with pensions and the different things that we're obligated to do. And then they come in with requests for adding services, adding staff, whatever it is that they think they need to do their jobs better. And then we eventually put all that together, and by May 1st we have to have a budget to present to the county council, and then you have another crack at it from there. And the county council and the auditor will go through it, and they'll continue on and pass a budget in June that will start July 1st with the fiscal year. So really quickly, for the next slide, the revenues are property tax is 44%, income tax is 33%, and everything else is small. And not everything in the small slivers is even there. We have some segregated funds like impact fees, and I'll say something about impact fees. They're not up there. It's not a huge chunk of money. You know, we're talking $10 million a year-ish. The impact fees were set in Anne Arundel County in 2009. They were reset based on what a consultant recommended, and not really based on it, but about half of what the consultant recommended. We lost out on $127 million since 2009 on development impact fees, money that would have gone to roads and schools and public safety, because the politicians at that time were convinced by the developers that it was just too expensive to charge the real impact fee. So you can count on impact fees going up in Anne Arundel County soon. On the expenditure side, next slide, education is a little over half, and public safety is the other blue, which is the next biggest. So that includes fire, police, detention, sheriff, and then up 12% for most of the rest of government. We have debt service in there at about 4%, and some others that are state, county, quasi-agencies with smaller slivers. Next slide. This isn't all that important. It just shows us that 51% for education includes not just the operating costs, but about $81 million in debt service on schools that we're building, on investments that we've made, capital improvements, $14 million for school health, and $5.5 million for school resource officers, police officers in schools. Next slide. This is from the budget tool. It's just the cost of various things, and I won't go through them all. The personnel costs people don't get paid as high as that shows. You probably can't read that. I can barely read it. It doesn't cost $107,000. A police officer doesn't get paid $107,000. That's with the equipment in the car and all the ancillary things that go with it. Next slide. Some of the infrastructure costs. Down at the bottom, it's just interesting to note that building schools has gotten so expensive that it costs $50 million for an elementary school, $100 million for middle school, and pretty close to $150 million for a high school these days. Unfortunately, we have about $2.1 billion in backlogs of just school construction that we're going to have to build in the next 10 or so years. Kind of a daunting number. I was testifying yesterday in the General Assembly in support of school construction funding. We'll see whether it gets approved. Fiscal expectations, the next one. This is the unfortunate part. During the campaign, I knew that we had been increasing revenues to the county by over $50 million, and I was naively hoping that that would be enough money to do all the wonderful things that we need to do. But the revenue projections have come down a little bit for the state and for the county, so it's going to be a little bit under $50 million in new revenue, but new expenses are going to be probably over $40 million, and those new expenses are the things that we're obligated to do that are non-discretionary. So debt service on some of the new things that we're building, maintenance of effort on schools, benefits, pension, health care, and some of the second half of pay packages for some of the unions that we negotiated. So we don't really have new money, less than $10 million probably, in new revenue to invest in new things. So the next slide is comparing our county on the property tax side to the rest of the counties in Maryland. And we are the yellow. We're at about 90 cents. Now, if you live in Annapolis, it's different. You have more. You have your Annapolis taxes, but you don't pay the full 90 cents on your Anne Arundel County taxes. There's a formula because some services we don't provide as a county to you. We do provide schools. We do provide some. So, but the Anne Arundel County taxes are at 90 cents for every $100 if you're a non-city resident. That is the fifth from the bottom in the state. Most of them are close to $1, just above $1, unless you're in Baltimore City, and then you're well over $2. Next slide shows the trend in the property tax rate. And some of you are aware that we have a thing called a property tax revenue cap in Anne Arundel County, and that passed in 1992. It was a charter amendment that the voters approved. And so if you go back to 1990, just before that, our tax rate was just over $1. So we were about like the other central Maryland counties. And now we're down to 90 cents. The way the revenue cap works is that as our tax base grows in a good economy, that would be more revenue, but we're not allowed to collect more revenue. We're only allowed to increase the revenue that we collect by the rate of inflation, or 4.5%, whichever is lower. So inflation's been well under 4.5%, so it is the rate of inflation. So that means that the rate goes down as the tax base grows, which is why in a good economy the rate has come down. There's another factor we'll get into in a minute here on the rate, but every year, whatever the rate is, the following year, it's only allowed to, whatever the tax base is, it's only allowed to go up the rate of inflation unless it's new construction, and that's not subject to the cap. And that's one of the reasons we've had pressure to allow new construction and new development, is because it's a way to create more revenue. Next slide. So these little circles are election years. Those are the years when the county went lower than the ceiling, lower than the tax cap. So in an election year, a county executive who wants to get reelected will say, I'm going to lower taxes, and I'm not going to tax as much as the ceiling allows. So every time they go below that ceiling, and it included the last year, it didn't work in the election, but going below the ceiling lowers the rate for future years because it's based on that year. So the budget office did a calculation of what those 4 political decisions did in terms of revenue to the county, and it cost us $470 million because of the lowering of the rate each year when you add it up. Income tax comparison with other counties, we're the third from the bottom. The central Maryland counties, the big 8, are most of them are at the very top. And so we're at 2.5%. The state allows counties to tax up to 3.2%, but no higher. And that actually, you don't have to worry about us going all the way to 3.2% under any circumstances, because that actually creates a lot of revenue. That's about $145 million in revenue, which I'm glad to say is a lot more than we need. But there's something about the income tax that really doesn't sit well with me. So as we are thinking about creating the revenue that we need to fund what you all are going to say you want us to spend money on tonight, and what we've been hearing in these town halls, I don't want to raise taxes on people who live paycheck to paycheck, and I don't want to raise them on people who live Social Security to Social Security check. I think that we're better off when taxes are more progressive. But what the state of Maryland did was we used to have our income taxes based on the state rate, which is progressive. So if you're in a higher income bracket, you pay a higher rate. They changed that. They used to call it the piggyback tax. Now we just have a flat rate of 2.5%, which is not progressive. Federal income tax is progressive, state income tax is progressive, Maryland county is not. And we know that the last tax cut, the one that the federal government gave people, or gave corporations more than people, really, they're the ones with the big 40% cut, was regressive. Most of the benefits of that went to the top 5%. So I'm interested in protecting the people at the bottom. I went to the Maryland Association of Counties on Wednesday, yesterday it was, and made a proposal to them, the Democrats and Republicans, sitting around the table, all the county executives, and there are more Republicans than Democrats around that table, and proposed that next year in the legislature, we push for the authority to be able to make our local taxes progressive if we want to. So rather than telling us how to tax, how to create revenue in our counties, giving us the authority to do it in a progressive way. And everybody liked that idea. The Republicans like local control, the Democrats like progressive. I think it's something that we can get through. We're talking about calling it the Local Tax Burden Redistribution Act. So my hope is that we'll be able to do something like that, and whatever we do on revenue, we can do it in a way that's fair. So that's everything I have to say about taxes, which nobody likes to talk about. Politicians are not supposed to say the word at all, but I think in a budget town hall, it's appropriate to at least be thinking about that. So with that, come on down, and Janice will moderate this part, and we will listen. And then at the end, I think we'll both, if you stick around, we'll have something to say about what you said. Make some closing comments.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
You're tall, Stuart. Just want to recognize a couple of people. Can you hear me okay? I'd like to recognize Sarah Alfred, who's here, Senator, D30. I'd like to recognize Vince Leggett, former president of the Board of Education. Clarence Butler, he's the executive director of the Wiley H. Bates Legacy Center. And Dylan Beller, did I get that right? The Central Committee, where are you? Can you wave to us? Thank you so much. Okay.
Can I say one quick thing?
Yes.
I just want to say that while we're talking,
You got to come up here, Stu. Okay.
while we're talking about taxes, I want to thank Sarah Alfrith and all of our delegation, but particularly Sarah, for getting the state of Maryland to step up and pay their pilot in lieu of taxes to Annapolis.
Yes. Okay, here we go. You have 2 minutes. I do not have a 30-second flag, but I just have my fan. So when you see this, you know you have 30 seconds. I'm going to try not to fan until it's your 30 seconds. Okay, can I have Joyce Miller, Rachel Myers, Phil Dales, and Louise Thomas? Please come down. So give me just 1 minute, and then I'm going to let you go. Okay, you may begin.
Good evening, Mr. County Executive and Council Member Rodvian. My name is Joyce Miller, and I'm...
A little closer.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. County Executive and Council Member Rodvian. My name is Joyce Miller, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees for the Anne Arundel County Public Library System. I'm also a resident of District 6. I'm here on behalf of the library system to ask your support to supplement our budget for 3 particular things. The first is Discovery's Library in the Annapolis Mall. We want to make this branch permanent. Since it opened, over 50,000 people have visited. In the past 3 months, more people have attended programs at Discovery's than all the other branches. We think this is a very innovative program, a very creative program, one in which the county government should be very proud, and the people of Anne Arundel County should be very proud because of its innovation. It provides kindergarten programs, kindergarten readiness, a safe space for teens, and a good space for adults to share books and computers, and et cetera. It's been so successful that the Annapolis Mall is offering a footprint of space that's 3 times the size. We need monies to fund this program. The second thing that we need funding for is materials. Books are the lifeblood of the library, and we can't keep up with all the demands for the new releases that come out. So we're asking that $2 million be funded over the next 4 months so that we have enough supplies, enough reading material to share in a timely fashion with our patrons. The third thing we're asking for is funding to help us with a new program to eliminate children's fines. Over 20% of the children in our county cannot use the library for electronic resources and homework help because of these fines. We want to eliminate them. Over 375 children live in District 6. So we're asking for your help to supplement our budget with the Discovery's Library, making it permanent, with materials, and also to eliminate children's fines. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Myers, and I am the branch manager of Anne Arundel County Public Libraries Discoveries, the library at the mall. I am before you tonight asking the county to fund the library's supplemental budget requests. This budget year, we are asking for increases in key areas to support the services and locations that we provide for all county residents. The library's top priority budget request is for continued funding for Discoveries, the library at the mall. As Joyce said, our location has been incredibly successful this past year, helping over 50,000 people discover the library at a location that has been created just for them. Families discover that there's a place for them to gather and make connections as they navigate a new way of life. Small children discover the skills needed to be ready for school through early literacy story times and our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program. Bilingual families discover that the library cares for them through weekly bilingual story times and our growing world languages collection. Teens discover a safe place that they can visit while at the mall with their friends. All county residents discover a convenient location to pick up their hold materials and return books from any location while at the mall for other errands. Adults discover programs in partnership with mall stores that support their education, enrichment, and inspiration. My staff and I have discovered a renewed excitement for library programming, as well as outreach to a community, a county, and all mall visitors who are learning what Anne Arundel County Public Library can provide to them for free. I just want to take a second and ask anyone who has discovered something for them at Discoveries, the library at the mall, or any other county library location to stand up. Thank you. As Joyce said, our library at Discoveries has grown to be the biggest programming branch in the system. We have had visitors from all around the county, and the mall draws visitors from all around the state. These shoppers are introduced via the library to the idea that Anne Arundel County truly is the best place. I welcome anyone to Discoveries that has not had the time to stop by and discover what we hold for you. Please help us continue this innovative special service at Westfield Annapolis Mall, even after our initial lease ends in December, so that more people can discover the library in the coming years. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Philip Dales, members of the County Council, County Executive Pittman, ladies and gentlemen. As I said, my name is Philip Dales. I'm a resident of District 6. I lived in Annapolis Roads. I run a law office in the city of Annapolis, and over the years, I've had the privilege of participating in many processes to address competing public needs in our area. I just walked off the tennis courts here with 60 students in Annapolis High School who showed up and signed up to play tennis, which overwhelmed our facilities here. We have the best facilities in the county here at this high school, and it's overwhelmed by the students that showed up for me to coach. I had the privilege of being the chairman of the inaugural Annapolis Neck Small Area Plan. I've served on the Annapolis Neck Peninsula Federation. I've served in joint committees with the city of Annapolis to basically parcel out use of our recreational facilities between what we have in the schools that are shared and managed with parks, recreation and parks. And as of the inaugural small area plan, we had demands, clear demands from all of the forums that we ran for more recreational facilities. It still exists today, and with respect to tennis, it's even more demanding. I have seen the facilities that the tennis community has had get reduced over the time period from the small area plan to the present. That has generated the growth. We've got an Anne Arundel County Tennis Association. We now have the Tennis Alliance, and through the input of the tennis community throughout the county, they have managed to create a public-private partnership. It's been prioritized by our present county executive. We ask that the monies that are targeted for the development of the tennis center be left in the budget, because this will be basically a gem for Anne Arundel County. During the time that I have coached kids, boys and girls, now I'm coaching a high school here, I've played USTA, I've been to district championships, I've captained teams that have been to district championships, I've been to sectional championships, and I can tell you this year, ACTA has brought sectional championships to the high school. We don't quite have the facilities in the shape they should be, but this would be an incredible coup for us to have a gym and a facility like this in Anne Arundel County, because there are multiple district, regional, and sectional championships which would bring revenue and economic gain to the county, in addition to providing facilities for members of our community, from the kids to senior citizens, of which I have to say I'm one. But we need these facilities. They don't exist, and they've been diminished from September through April.
Phil,
We ask you to
please
keep this in the budget.
summarize.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Okay, Henry Smith, Lisa Vernon, Margaret Davis, and India Oaks.
Good evening. My name's Henry Smith. I'm house security at Maryland Hall. I've lived in the county for many, many years. Maryland Hall is in definite need for some security needs, such as surveillance cameras, locked doors with buzzer entry, among other things. This is very important to make sure our staff and our guests are very, very safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lisa Vernon, Director for the Anne Arundel County Literacy Council. We have been serving Anne Arundel County for 42 years, providing free books, tutoring, and assessments for any interested adult, low-income adult in Annapolis and Anne Arundel County who would like to improve their skills. We have done this with the help of 292 trained, skilled volunteers who give instruction in reading, writing, math, GED, and English as a second language. Last year we had 247 students, and 57 of those were GED students. And of those, 10 achieved their GED last year, which was very exciting. So we have received statewide recognition for our program, and that comes from the Governor's P20 Council. They have put us in their report for the past 2 years, the report that goes to the governor, and recommending that our program will be used as a model program in every county in the state. So we're very proud of that. We're proud of what we've accomplished, and we want to continue growing. So at this point, there's 2 things that we're asking for. One is, from the county, we're asking for $70,000 to continue our growth. In 2012, we had 27 tutor-student matches. Last year, we had 247, and really with support, I see us doubling or tripling that amount. So that's the first thing. Now, for the city of Annapolis, the greatest percentage of our students come from Annapolis, and the need is great. So what we are asking for is space, and that space would be access to free parking, a classroom, ability to have a classroom, a library, and an office. And a great possibility for this would be the empty double-wide trailer that is directly behind the old Phoenix Academy building in Annapolis. The great thing about this is the location is wonderful, and it's access for our former, current, and student clients in Annapolis that is within walking distance. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Margaret Davis, President and CEO of Maryland Hall. It's good to see you, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodman. Thank you for your support of Maryland Hall in the past. As President and CEO of your county-wide cultural hub, I testify on the critical need to fund repair, maintenance, and security of this rapidly expanding provider of programs that strengthen communities and reach more than 100,000 people annually. We continue to repurpose your 70,000 square foot arts resource for larger and more diverse audiences and programs. We deliver on our clarion call of art for all. Our 1932 building opened as America began clawing her way out of the Great Depression. From the state of many of our classrooms, bathrooms, and stairwells today, you might wonder if we're still in that era. We appreciate the county's regular annual support of our facility, and it is critical that this support and annual level of funding of the past 5 years continue as we reach more residents from 3 months old to 103 years old. Maryland Hall is ideally located to reach dense pockets of low-income residents of North County, South County, as well as Annapolis. Our well-established and hugely successful outreach programs have grown 130% in the last 4 years as we better reach underserved residents. Of the 3,100 low-income and public housing units in Annapolis, most are within a 3 to 5 mile radius of Maryland Hall. Our free programs and extensive class scholarships and our partnerships with Boys and Girls Clubs, Center de Ayuda, Banneker Douglas, Black Wall Street, and many, many more organizations make us well situated for maximum impact in the arts for immigrants, youth at risk, and residents. We cover all operating costs. It's critical that the county budget help us to continue to support Maryland Hall's facilities and avoid a further crumbling infrastructure. We help Anne Arundel County be the best place. We also contribute at least $40 million of economic impact in this area. Let's repair and maintain this incredible county resource, and let's make its users safer now. Come join us for the free Art Fest. Hope you all will do so this Sunday for Maryland Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
India Oaks from Annapolis. Like many of us in the county, I encourage you to fund all of the proposed school budget, but I am here tonight to specifically ask you to keep in funding for the Hillsmere Elementary Feasibility Study. Hillsmere is 52 years old and has never been renovated. I know what it was like in the early years since I went there back in the early 80s, and so now that my son is going there, I know that nothing has changed in the last 30 years, except the growth in student population. With no central air conditioning, Hillsmere gets hot quickly, and it's hard to hear the teachers with fans running. Our boiler broke 2 times within 2 weeks during the winter. Our wiring is so outdated that it's difficult to keep up with all the needed technology. There is no double entry door to increase security, nor is Hillsmere fully accessible for people with disabilities. I could go on, but the bottom line is Hillsmere needs to be fully renovated, and that will only happen with the start of the feasibility study. I also wanted to quickly say how critical it is to fund more school counselors, more bilingual specialists for our increasing international population, more support for our restorative practices system, and more special education teachers, so that our county not only protects our most vulnerable students, but also does not get out of compliance with federal regulations. Thank you.
Jack Oakes, Steve Berry, Brian Holtzlander, and Deontay Ward. I have a confession to make to everybody here. I was so upset about my styrofoam cup, I gave the first 6 people 3 minutes. Okay.
My name is Jack Oakes, and I'm here to support more money on school counselors because we only have one, and lots of the times she has to do so much stuff, but she only can do one. So like if she has groups with others to help them, sometimes she has to do other things like guide or do other things. And also at recess, things happen sometimes. And it would really help if most school counselors came because it could be easier to do each job. Thank you.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Deontay Ward. I'm the founder of Black Wall Street of Annapolis, the 2018 Anne Arundel County NAACP Business of the Year Award winner. Also the 2018 DMV Inspire Award winner for Community Developer and Humanitarian of the Year. So I thank those that have been in partnership with me to help my work be effective in Annapolis. Since 2002, I've been a part of Maryland Hall. In middle school, I was a part of Vision Workshop, which was a program that was held at Maryland Hall. This opportunity changed my life. Meeting new teens and learning from their stories and their way of living gave me a different view of the world. Fast forward to today, I'm a youth director for 3 different organizations based in 4 different lower income communities: Connected Kids, Black Excel, and Skio. With each program having a different purpose, they all have 2 things in common: art and anti-youth violence. Since 2016, my program has collaborated more than 20 times and have worked with more than 300 children and 15 different artists. Half of the artists I've met have come through the different programs through Maryland Hall. Our program has used art as a way to be expressive, to tell our unheard stories throughout the communities, from poetry, music, photography, murals, and so much more art offered at Maryland Hall. Having this opportunity, which is the only opportunity within my partnerships, to remove the youth from communities like Newtown, Eastport, and Rhymewood and take them to Maryland Hall, have also gave them the opportunity to meet different people, different cultures, and learn and have a different perspective of life. I believe these different programs and collaborations not only help reduce the crime in my respective communities, by keeping them active and out in the environment, but also allow our youth to connect from all walks of life. One of my favorite collaborations was the big mural painting on the back of Maryland Hall that had over 50 children and 10 chaperones involved. Watching all the children come together and create so many beautiful pieces of art, make new friends, share laughter, and have something in common also shows that Maryland Hall has been very effective in my communities.
Thank you, Dee. Can you please summarize?
Well, in summary, I'm just asking that Maryland Hall continues to get the funding that they need in order to help Annapolis become a better and safer place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Louise Thomas. You mentioned, announced me earlier. I just wanted to take a moment to support the recreational opportunities that you've heard about tonight, and if I could let our tennis community that is here today in support of the Millersville Tennis Center and include our good friends of the paddle tennis community, if we could all stand up in support of recreational opportunities in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
You may be seated. Hi, I'm Steve Berry, a member of a resident of District 6. I work at Anne Arundel Community College. I want to thank you both for being here and for listening to your constituents. I appreciate it very much. I know everybody here appreciates it as well. Part of my role at the community college is to work in our entrepreneurship program where we help students start businesses. And we support them, we give them mentoring, and we help them do what they need to do to get their business going. And Mr. Pittman, I know you're a business owner. You know what it's like to get a business going, up and running, and sustaining. You can't do it by yourself. You need help, and we provide that to our students. They start bakeries. They start massage studios, photography studios, drone businesses, marketing businesses, and much, much more. One of our graduates started an electric company, which employs, a local electric company, which employs over 30 people and grosses $5 million a year. Much of that comes back to you in taxes. Another part of my role is I teach a business class at Jessup Correctional Institution where the incarcerated individuals there are earning their certificate in entrepreneurship because they want to start their own business because they know nobody's going to hire them when they get out. And after class one day, one of the students hung around and he was talking to me and he said, he's getting out pretty soon in about 2 years, which doesn't seem soon to me, but for him it's soon. He's been in there 20 years. And he said the class, this program that we have offered them is the first time he's been given any kind of positive feedback, any kind of support, and the first time in his life he's had hope. And he started crying. Then he thanked me, and I took the long walk out of Jessup Correctional Institution and realized that that's what we do for our students. We not only help them academically learn what they need to learn, but we support them. We help them, we provide support for them, we provide encouragement, we're not judgmental, we help them achieve their goals. And I'm sure almost everybody in this room has in some way been touched by the community college. So please do support the budget that the community college has. And in a final note, as my folder is green, please keep Crownsville green as well. Thank you.
Hello, thank you, Councilwoman Rodvin and Council Executive Pittman, and thank you, all of you, for the continued privilege to serve you as a firefighter and paramedic here in Anne Arundel County. District 6 is rich in history and people living busy lives, but we are struggling to keep you safe. In many places throughout the county, we only have 2 firefighters on a fire engine, and ambulances that are only in operation for 8 or 10 hours a day. The national standard for firefighters is 4, and it's 4 because 2 people are just not enough to take a hose line up a couple flights of stairs into a bedroom and fight a fire, or to safely cut someone out of a car. And you have one as close as Harold Harbor. Also throughout the county, a lot of firefighters are doing double duty where they're in charge of doing ambulance and fire and boat work and other things. And that division of labor leaves certain things lacking. Chief Wolford's budget proposal this year offers a tremendous opportunity for us to kind of bring some of our staffing levels in line and really bring us into the 21st century. We've been operating under a model of service that's decades old, 60s, 70s, 80s in a lot of areas. So let's just work together. Again, thank you for all the opportunities to be a part of your life and your experience here in District 6. And like I said, we're here for you 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Let's give you the fire service that you deserve and that we so desperately want to provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Stephanie Orr, Laura Brino, Mr. Castro, and Miss Olivera Coffin.
My name is Stephanie Orr. I currently live in Annapolis, Maryland, and have resided in Anne Arundel County for 35 years. I'm also a member of WISE, a local group of 700 women seeking inclusivity, safety, equity, and compassion for all our county residents. I would like to request that the county establish a deportation defense fund as part of the 2019 budget. All of the citizens of Anne Arundel County deserve the right to due process under the law. But unfortunately, this is not always available for those who need it the most, our immigrant neighbors. Our county and state benefit tremendously from the hard work and taxes paid by this marginalized group. Yet, if these folks end up in our court system, they're not guaranteed legal representation. Seeking asylum is a right granted by the U.S. Constitution. It is not a crime. On average, an adult seeking asylum currently spends 6 to 8 months in detention, and a child spends over 1 year. Immigrant detainees seeking asylum are 90% more likely to win their cases if they have a lawyer representing them. A released client is able to continue to support his or her family and is highly likely to appear at future scheduled hearings, not to mention the reduction in cost by not having to house this person in county detention centers. The Annapolis Immigration Justice Network specializes in providing these services to immigrants seeking asylum or U visas. Within the past 10 months, they've provided legal representation to 40 adults and children in our area. They've raised $50,000 towards this fund. But just imagine how many more individuals we could help with the establishment of a county fund for this purpose. There is also an opportunity to match the funding of our county by the Vera Institute. Our neighboring counties of Montgomery, Prince George's, and Baltimore City already have a plan in place. Can Anne Arundel County join in this worthwhile investment? Anne Arundel County offers great opportunities for employment, education, and recreation. We would like to see all our residents be able to benefit from these advantages.
Good evening. My name is Laura Brina. I'm on borrowed time, so we'll make it real quick. I'm currently the outreach coordinator at Maryland Hall. I began my career as a visual arts teacher at Bates Middle School and then transitioned into the arts integration specialist there. I'm speaking on behalf of Maryland Hall as the outreach coordinator and also as a mother of a 3-year-old, active 3-year-old who takes many classes at Maryland Hall. I myself took classes when I was younger, and now my daughter takes classes, and she talks about her dance class every night like it's Christmas Eve. She can't wait to go to dance. And it's the first class that she has come home as a 3-year-old with new vocabulary like grand plie and shuffle, right? So it shows what an amazing educational asset Maryland Hall is when I see my 3-year-old having these artistic vocabulary. In addition to that, as Margaret spoke about before, we serve people all the way from 3 months, 3 years, like my toddler, up to 103 years old with our Arts for Seniors program that's part of our outreach program. Our outreach program has been consistently growing. In 2013, as a teacher at Bates, I approached Maryland Hall about starting an after-school arts program for youth facing adversity. As a teacher, I saw our kids struggling a lot with the challenges they faced at home in the communities in Annapolis, and I knew that they needed more enriching after-school activities. Maryland Hall had open arms to me and welcomed my program and fully funded it. And since then, we've grown. We serve over 150 students a week in our outreach programming. We have over 200 outreach workshops a year, and all of these workshops and classes are 100% free to the participants. Our outreach studios, as well as the rest of the rooms, have peeling plaster, water damage, peeling paint, and other safety issues, and especially when we are trying to reach our students and provide a safe environment from them away from the challenges at home, it's important to have those things repaired. It's critical that the county taxes help Maryland Hall with building repairs, security issues, and our continually growing outreach program, all of which provides arts experiences for the millions of visitors we've had over the 40 years that we've been around and for the millions of visitors we will have. Thank you.
My name is Stephanie Castro. I am 19 years old. I graduated from Annapolis High School in 2017. One day I'd like to go back to AACC and earn my associates in child development, but for the moment I am working full-time as a waitress. I began attending Jóvenes Artistas in middle school up through the end of high school. When I first heard about the art program, I decided to check it out since I never participated in any other after-school programs. As a young teenager, I was going through so many changes and sometimes I didn't know how to deal with them. But with Jóvenes Artistas, I was able to express myself through art. It definitely kept my mind busy from having depressing thoughts. Jóvenes Artistas created a sense of belonging. It was like a second home. I had the chance to make new friends and work with them on awesome projects, and for that I am very grateful. Jóvenes Artistas created a sense of belonging. It was like a second home. I had the chance to make new friends and work with them on awesome projects, and for that I am very grateful. Jóvenes Artistas has helped me become a better person and helped me realize what my purpose in life is, which is to help kids and lead them through the right path. I believe the county should help and support this art program because it can make positive impacts on many lives. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you start, I'm going to have the other people start making their way to the microphone so we can keep flowing. Can I have Miss Larimore, Sandy Cohen, I think this is Jean Smith and Linda Boyd, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adelania Oliveira Coffin. I'm a full-time mom and economist when I have some time. I'm Brazilian, and growing up, I changed a lot of schools, and not always did I have access to books. But my parents really impressed upon me the importance of knowledge. One of my first books I can clearly remember reading was a children's version of Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream. It had a huge impact on me, and instantaneously I fell in love with books. Library became like a second home for me, but I never knew how much more a library could be until I went to the Discoveries, the library at the mall. The name really describes what the place means, a place to discover new books, new knowledge, and even new friends. The mall is more than a convenience place. All year long, it is a place where different people from different backgrounds and ages can come together. Having a library at the mall gives people an opportunity to connect and give us a sense of community. Discoveries opened soon after I had my daughter last year. And once I could go out with her, it was one of our first destinations. The Babies in Bloom program had a huge impact, not only on her development, but also for me as a mom. It teaches caregivers how to play, how to have fun, how to engage, and how to communicate, like baby sign language. She's been there since she was 2 months old, and there she learned how to be social. We made the best friends we have today, another Brazilian-American family in the area. We also celebrated her first birthday on February 14th, doing what she loves the most, listening, the storytelling surrounded by her little friends. Education is a key for a better world, and it is incredible to have access to it. I'm so happy and glad to see my daughter have this privilege. I would like to ask you to keep the Discoveries as a permanent library location at the mall. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Nugent. My name was on the list after Margaret Davis, but I think it got skipped, and your office suggested I just approach the mic anyway.
That's fine.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Patrick Nugent. I'm executive director at the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra. I am not here to advocate for the very small item the symphony has on the county budget. Rather, I'm here to speak for Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts, which is our home, and I'm representing the 4 resident artistic companies at Maryland Hall: ourselves, the Annapolis Opera, Live Arts Maryland, and the Ballet Theater of Maryland. Maryland Hall is a precious, valuable, and productive cultural asset for our entire county, where tens of thousands of adults, families, children, students, teachers, visitors, and the entire community enjoy unforgettable arts experiences. When Maryland Hall was built in 1932, Herbert Hoover was president. The building has all the comforts and technology you could want from 1932, but not everything works as well as it did during the Hoover administration. We in the resident companies are proud of the building's historic character, but all the resident companies agree that it's essential for the community to continue the funding that will repair and maintain the facility and keep our guests safe. This means fixing the following: the roof, which leaks in many places, causing deterioration in the ceiling and the walls of the newly renovated performance theater where we perform. Many of the windows throughout the building are rotting and rain intrudes through them. I keep 3 coffee cups on my windowsill, not to drink coffee out of, but to catch the water that streams down from the window on days when it rains. The main floor bathrooms have no ventilation. That's fun. All of the current bathrooms are completely inappropriate for the crowds of patrons who regularly pack the house. The stairs and the sidewalks outdoors are crumbling and pose a danger to patrons. The HVAC systems are leaky, noisy, unreliable, and did I say noisy? When the plumbing was installed, radio and talking pictures were brand new. Record albums were all 78s, and the electric guitar hadn't been invented. And the last veteran of the Civil War was going to live for another 20 years. The plumbing needs help. There is serious and destructive water intrusion through the entire building. All of resident companies are deeply grateful to the county taxpayers for support in previous years. The taxpayers own the building, and so we turn to you for help in fixing these serious defects. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Aurelia Larimore, and born and raised in District 6. I would like to advocate for 2 specific items in the proposed budget for the Anne Arundel County Library. I currently work at Discoveries, the library at the mall, and I have experienced how our branch has enhanced community connections. Discoveries is truly a library for everyone, as we have individuals and families from all over Anne Arundel County utilize our services and enjoy our almost daily free programming. I am here to ask that Discoveries become a permanent branch of the Anne Arundel County Library System. I would also like to talk about equal access, which can mean a few different things in Anne Arundel County. Libraries are one of the few places that are open to all members of our community. Libraries provide a free and welcoming space for community members, and having a library social worker on staff would allow members of the community to gain consistent access to necessary resources. Lack of consistent public transportation is another barrier to equal access to services in Anne Arundel. By providing the library with an outreach vehicle and designated staff members, the library will have the ability to reach individuals who are currently cut off from library and community services. Anne Arundel County has a growing population of Spanish-speaking families, and the library hopes to be a resource where families can enjoy programs in Spanish, check out materials in Spanish, and support families in navigating and connecting with resources while letting them know that they are valuable members of our diverse community. Therefore, I would like to ask that the county fund the library's ability to hire more Spanish-speaking library associates, an outreach vehicle with 2 outreach staff members, and a full-time library social worker. Thank you for your consideration.
Hi, I'm Sandy Cohen, and thank you for giving me a chance to speak a bit about the importance of maintenance, repair, and security at Maryland Hall. It's a hard act to follow Patrick Nugent, so I'm going to skip what I had written and just say give you personal anecdote. For the past decade, it was only after I retired from government lawyering that I began to take advantage of the rich offerings at Maryland Hall. And I've worked there regularly, unpaid, in the historic building. Being a historic biological structure myself, I appreciate the importance of maintenance and repair. And being a former government lawyer, I assume that you appreciate the importance of avoiding potential liabilities that can come from neglect of these needs. I can, a word about how beneficial to me personally it was to be able to just walk into Maryland Hall and join a relaxed drawing and painting co-op, proceed at my own pace, be introduced to established artists in the area and get their encouragement, and soon become an artist in residence myself there. One anecdote, while going to my studio one day, I saw a really fine artist who'd been a teacher at Maryland Hall for 5 years, sitting on the floor of his studio with the windows open, the fans on, trying futilely to rescue 5 years of artwork that had been stored in portfolios against the outer wall of his studio during a heavy rain. I would say those co-ops that used to be sparsely attended by devoted old-timers are now bursting at the seams. We've had to limit participation because you need to provide a line of sight from easels to models. And we have volunteer studio managers from all around the county. They live in Gambrills and Pasadena and Broadneck, and I live in Annapolis. Come tomorrow, not tomorrow, but Sunday afternoon to Art Fest, see a portrait studio in progress. And there's tremendous enthusiasm for the programs at Maryland Hall. It's a pleasure to be there. Hope you can keep it from crumbling and keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Coleman. While Ms. Boyd is coming up, could we please have Grace Shelton, Nigel Curtis, Russell Leone, and Carol Brown.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Council Member Rodivian. My name is Linda Hicks Boyd, Chair of the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center Board of Directors and a member of the Wally H. Bates class of 1964. As the Wally H. Bates alumni age and the continued desire to enhance the richness of the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center and its importance to the culture of our communities, there is an immediate need for an executive director position to continue the legacy of the school and Mr. Bates. The executive director would be responsible for overseeing the administration, programs, and the strategic plan of the center. Other duties would include fundraising, marketing, and community outreach. From 1932 to 1966, Wally H. Bates High School was the only secondary school in Anne Arundel County for African Americans. Wally H. Bates High School is of exceptional significance in the history of the development of public education for African Americans in Anne Arundel County. Entrepreneur Wally H. Bates, for whom the school was named, donated $500 to purchase the land on which the school was built. In 1966, the high school closed and later served as a junior high middle school. After it permanently closed in 1981, the school remained dormant for over 20 years. In 1994, Wally H. Bates High School was listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and discussions about its redevelopment were rekindled. After 25 years of being dormant, the late Judge S.M.V. Ricks led community leaders and citizens in seeking funding for the renovation. Our board of directors and alumni are enthusiastic about sustaining the legacy of Wally H. Bates in the school. We want the center to remain as part of the most inclusive and culturally enriched center for the community. Alumni and supporters continue to be passionate about sharing the evolution of the schools and the center's historical beginnings.
Linda, can you please summarize?
Yes, I can. Keeping the Bates High School story alive requires strong leadership and efficient management of administrative duties necessary for the growth and smooth operation of the Legacy Center. As I stated in my opening, the alumni have aged, and we need to plan for the future of the Legacy Center. I, for example, in 7 years will be 80 years old. I'm requesting the County Executive Pittman to put funds in the proposed budget for the Bates Legacy Center and asking for Council Rodvian's support. And joining me tonight are alumni and members of the Board of Directors. So would you all stand, please?
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you very much for holding this, and it's a pleasure and an honor to be here. My name is Grace Shelton, and I'm a resident of District 6, and I'm mostly here as a patron of the libraries and to speak in support of them. I most frequently go to Eastport, but I also go to Monarch and have been to the City Library and all the libraries. I think they are a huge source of strength for our community. I just want to echo what somebody said about the diversity that they bring in. Every time I go to the library, I see from newborns to very elderly people. The programs they offer is so varied and rich. But the strength is the variety of people. You see all ages, all economic strata, all ethnicities, and it brings the community together. So I ask for your support for all of the 3 items that the main library person spoke of. I also wanted to register concern about proposed development along Forest Drive and Spa, and I know you've got a hard job balancing the need for taxes, but also the environmental concerns. I feel that some of the concerns have been voiced by the community have fallen on deaf ears and have not been addressed. And my third thing is just to also continue to ask support for special education in the schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I still have 30 more seconds. I want to just pass along what my niece said when I asked her about the libraries. She said that this is a place where you go to earn a brain. And I think that just want to say.
Hello, my name is Carol Brown, and I want to thank you, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodvian, for listening to what we have to say. I was initially trained as a French teacher, but later as a trial lawyer, I actually never stopped teaching. So I make this statement tonight in support of our teachers. I wholeheartedly support the Kerwin Commission's recommendations to bring our schools and our teachers back to where we should have been in the first place had it not been for cuts, cuts, cuts. Think of it. Where did we all learn about being honest, doing the right thing, being fair, how our government works, and so much more? In our schools, of course. Therefore, our teachers are absolutely vital to the very core of our democracy. We must support our students, beginning with pre-K, and our teachers with full support for pay increases and all career path programs. And of course, we must pay for this with my taxes and other revenues, as you've heard me say many times. We have to put raising revenues squarely on the table, and we have to stop thinking that rich people's money is somehow off limits. So if you are squirming in your seats right now thinking, uh-oh, what about my huge bank account and my yacht sitting in one of my beautiful marinas, then that's a good start. Because we cannot continue to extract hard-earned money from our middle class while the super rich enjoy the greatest bounty our country has to offer, while shielding millions of dollars from the pool of money that we need to support our schools and other serious community needs for that matter. We are all in this together. We must be laser focused on the future and do everything we absolutely must do to prepare our kids for what is coming. If we fail our school system with continued cuts, we deserve to be blasted for being short-sighted, irresponsible, ignorant, and for killing our kids' dreams and opportunities. And then we all lose. Thank you for your sustained support for our schools. And Mr. Pittman, I'm going to be working to support your redistribution bill next year. Follow the money.
Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodvian. My name is Russell Leone. I'm an elementary school teacher and president of the Teachers Association. I've stood before you several times during these town halls, and I want to thank you and all the council members before who have taken the time to listen to our needs and requests. By now, I believe you understand that the needs and challenges facing our teachers here in Anne Arundel County. As I stated the other night, I know the funds aren't unlimited, and we also know that a lot has been asked for education. But as educators, and I include all educators, teachers, counselors, psychologists, secretaries, custodians, paraprofessionals, and many others, we've been struggling for the last 10 years. We've dedicated our energy and expertise to our students. We've seen years of personal struggle that have tested that dedication many times, as many have had to hold multiple jobs to make ends meet, and some have had to make decisions whether to stay in the county or go to other counties. I've also reiterated that our kids can't wait. They can't wait for us to do the right thing for them and provide the necessary positions like school counselors, bilingual support personnel, special educators, and mental health supports. This is the year. This is the time to do everything we can to make steps toward repairing the divide created by pay freezes and the underfunding of our schools. Our children are the future of Anne Arundel County, and they deserve educators who feel their value and can go to work each day with the energy, joy, and high morale our students deserve. Please fully fund the education budget so we can finally say that the years of devaluation and demoralization of the education profession are a thing of the past, and we can say we are looking to the light of the future and our children and the positive environment that we can provide for them. Thank you so much.
Good evening. Thank you all for holding this and allowing us to come and express our thoughts. My name is Naya Curtis, and I was born and raised in District 6. I am also an alumna, current employee, and returning student at Anne Arundel Community College. Coming to Anne Arundel Community College, I wasn't the traditional college student. I graduated from Annapolis Senior High School in 2009. Leaving there, I studied broadcast journalism at Howard University. After attending the college for 3 years, I dropped out. Being as though I was the first person in my family to go to college, I was nervous and I was lost. I started to question who I was and where I wanted to go from there. Not sure where to start, however, knowing I had to do something, I started taking non-credit photography classes at Anne Arundel Community College. Taking these classes started a journey with the college that would forever change my life. When my student journey started, I got extremely involved. I was blessed with numerous resources, was able to start a business, a photography business, Eye Opening Photography, and became the first person in my family to finally obtain a college degree. Thank you. This journey was so amazing that I decided that I wanted to work for the college once I graduated and help others figure out how the community college could change their lives as well. I've been at AACC since 2014, and every day I see and talk to students of all ages and employees about how the college is changing their lives for the better. Both students and employees travel from all over the county and even from other counties to come to what is truly the community's college. AACC has changed many lives and continues to change lives to this day. I am also truly proud to say that AACC has changed my life forever. With all of this being said, Mr. Pittman, please support the submitted budget from Anne Arundel Community College. Thank you so much.
Oh, there's nobody here. Okay, Laura Collins, Dylan Craig, Tom DeMoise, if I have that right, and Bob Whitcomb.
Good evening. I'm Dylan Craig, and I'm a teacher here in Anne Arundel County. And I know you've heard from many of us, but I wanted to make sure you heard from a first-year teacher. Being a first-year teacher comes with challenges, but so many of these challenges can be prevented or mitigated with your help in this upcoming budget. A lot has been said about the pay inequities for loyal and experienced teachers in the county, but as a new teacher, I cannot stress enough how valuable these experienced teachers are in each school. When I am struggling with a problem, it's an experienced teacher who I turn to. When I need ideas for a lesson, it's an experienced teacher who I turn to. When I need tips for managing behavior, it's an experienced teacher who I turn to. They had committees, clubs, and teams, and most importantly, they helped the new teachers become involved in the community and succeed. The experienced teachers in my school are valuable to my personal teaching career, and they should be valued in the county, and this should be reflected in the budget. This is not to say that only county's experienced teachers deserve more. All teachers, new and experienced, deserve to be compensated for all they put in. But currently, teachers leave to find better compensation elsewhere. Teachers also leave, and students falter when the resources are not there. As a new teacher, I have also relied on the counselors in order to better assist all of the things my students come to my classroom with. But often, in many schools, counselors are swamped, and all suffer, and most tragically, the students suffer. It is even more difficult when a student feels lost in a classroom that is packed full, where they are forced to receive less attention, less feedback, and less support. The teacher is trying, but in a class with so many, it's only natural for a teacher to feel overworked. We currently have the opportunity to create a public school system where teachers are valued and students have the resources and environment conducive to learning, but that takes a change in the budget. That takes closing the pay gap and hiring more counselors, support professionals, and teachers to improve classroom sizes. Please fully fund the education budget so educators can be fairly compensated and needed positions filled. This will help us keep driven new teachers in our county while also showing how we support and value those loyal and experienced teachers who build those communities. This is what our students, teachers, and community deserve. Thank you for holding this hearing and listening.
Good evening. I'm Tom DeMoss. I've been a resident since 1984. I was the director of the Chesapeake Bay Cleanup Program for a while, and I'm a jock, and that'll all come together in a second. But I'm first here to talk about the library system. I'm a major patron of the library system. You can't go in a library anywhere in this county and not see smiling, professional, happy people that will do anything for you to help you. It makes you feel like home the way that Maryland Hall makes you feel like home, the way the Evening Capitol makes you feel like home, the way the Bay makes you feel like home. It's something we shouldn't lose. And everything they've argued for tonight, do it. Discoveries is great. The kids are wonderful. They had a tent in there the last time that I went in there, and the kids were having a million laughs. They loved it. Back to my other occupations, an athlete, jock. We don't need another stadium in Crownsville. We don't need another stadium for jocks. It's really unrealistic. Arlington County in Virginia, where my grandchildren are, they have a wonderful model for the way that they have athletic facilities available throughout that county. You're welcome there day and night. I can go to a batting cage at a high school and practice pitching to them at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Guess what will happen in Anne Arundel County if I try to do that? I get run off. I might even have the police show up. I try to play tennis there. Ridiculous. We ought to think about that. Why is it a privileged asset? In Arlington County, every public recreation facility is not privileged to just one unit like that. So, go green at Crownsville. Lisa, I sent you an email about the library. God love you, you answered it right away. Thank you. Thank you for being here. You're terrific, both of you.
Can I call down right now Ray Evans, Jean Tinsley, Kate Fritz, and Lelia McCarthy? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bob Whitcomb, a resident for over 40 years of District 6, and I think a very active resident in those years. I want to talk to you about two small programs, one in recreation and one affecting the environment. On the recreation side, I began with the formation of the Water Access Committee and have served through to being appointed on the Water Access Commission. And we have a simple goal, to have a point of water access on each shore of every river in the county. It's not going to be easy. Department of Recreation and Parks has made major progress and done numerous studies on this. I urge you to fund their part of the budget that will continue that work. We need to make sure the residents away from the waters in Western County or other areas have equal access to our beautiful environment and the waters of the bay. Second, the Severn River. I am past president of the Severn River Association, currently serving on the Severn River Commission, and currently leading over 400 active volunteers who are growing oysters. I urge you to continue the small amount of funding that the county provides, I believe, to the Oyster Recovery Partnership in order to support oyster restoration on the Severn and other rivers in our county. Thank you.
I hope you don't mind. I'm substituting for Kate Fritz.
That's fine.
My name is Jan Atwood. I live in Heritage Harbor. I am one of over 200 master watershed stewards in Anne Arundel County. We have 6 stewards in our community and are encouraging more to help out. Our community is in the South River watershed, and we have a working relationship with the Arundel Rivers Federation. Our geography is such that we constantly battle stormwater runoff. This is not unlike many other communities in Anne Arundel County. Watershed Stewards Academy is celebrating our 10-year anniversary. Much has been done in the last 10 years, but as we grow with numbers of stewards and our efforts to expand to reach all communities, additional funding would support staff expansion, diversity initiatives, environmental literature, and in-the-ground projects so that we may slow it down, spread it out, and sink it in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Jean Tinsley, and with me in the back is Kay Hoffman. We are the chair and the co-chair of the non-represented Employees Advisory Committee. In January, a member of our committee met with a member of your cabinet, Ben Burge, the Chief Administrative Officer. It was a very productive meeting, and thank you for your time. We'd like to summarize what was discussed in the meeting. The non-represented employees are not asking for special treatment above the other county work groups. What we are asking for is to be treated fairly and to be acknowledged with compensation that is equitable to what has been provided to the other county work groups. Also, in FY18, we were told that the non-represented employees would have a new evaluation system in fiscal year 20. We had a similar program to this in fiscal year 6, 7, and 8, and it failed. We're very concerned about the new program, and we're asking that you leave the program that we currently have in place
and not move forward with the new one. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Layla McCarthy, and I'm a Master Watershed Steward, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Watershed Steward Academy. I live here in District 6, right across the road in Riva Trace. It's a community of 550 homes, 100 acres of common property, and we're on the South River directly. It was built around the 80s, and like Jen was mentioning, we have a huge stormwater problems, erosion, toxic pollution going directly into our rivers, down our storm drains and into our rivers. And until I took the watershed training course, I didn't realize that the #1 source of pollution was from stormwater runoff. I thought it was agriculture or smokestacks in Baltimore or something like that, but it's actually the things we do in our homes that make a difference. I want to read you a little bit about the Academy. The Anne Arundel Watershed Stewards Academy envisions every community in Anne Arundel County actively engaged to ensure clean water. Our mission is to develop citizen leaders to promote community change for clean water. WSA builds capacity in Anne Arundel County by training master watershed stewards to help neighbors reduce pollution in our local creeks and rivers. Our hands-on certification course gives stewards the tools to implement change in their communities, turning knowledge into action. Stewards work with their communities to install projects such as rain gardens, conservation landscapes, and to reduce pollution at its source. Collectively, these small community-based actions are improving the health of the larger Chesapeake Bay watershed. Since 2009, WSA has certified over 220 master watershed stewards who've installed over 2,500 projects from rain barrels to stream restoration and engaged over 135,000 citizens of Anne Arundel County to reduce pollution to local waterways. So I'm asking you to increase the funding for the Watershed Steward Academy so we can continue to grow our programs and to engage the citizens in cleaning up our bay and the rivers. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me call down Grace Schneider, Cliff Anderson, Malcolm Doing, and Rick Cantania. Did I do it okay? All right.
Hi, my name is Grace Schneider, and I live in Annapolis, Neck Peninsula, and I am a watershed steward, and I'm also a landscape designer at McHale Landscape Design. Where I work, we have recently been inundated in storms about drainage issues on private property. And this has been happening all this year and all last year in particular, since we've had so much rainfall. And this isn't going to stop because we can't stop the rain from falling. And if the rain or if the stormwater goes untreated into the bay, then it's pollution. Fortunately, we have Watershed Stewardship Academy, which is very good at bringing awareness to people about drainage issues and how to deal with them and remediate stormwater pollution. And our company has installed 2 of the Clean Water Initiatives and Riverwise Congregation Initiatives that were organized by the WSA. And I have witnessed firsthand how people have become engaged in proactively remediating stormwater on their property, whereas they probably would have never known about that had these programs not been in place. And the programs specifically are the Clean Water Communities engages entire neighborhoods to reduce pollution through behavioral changes such as pet waste pickup and in-ground projects such as rain gardens, bioswales, bioretention. Thousands of gallons of polluted runoff are prevented from getting into our local creeks because of actions taken voluntarily by CWC. In most cases, residents in these neighborhoods are investing their own funds to solve stormwater problems and create cleaner communities with the help of master watershed stewards. I encourage you to go online at the WSA website to learn more about these programs, or reach out to one of us or Suzanne Etkin, the executive director, because they're just doing a great job at cleaning the stormwater before it hits the bay, or better yet, preventing it from getting there in the first place. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Malcolm Doing. I'm a 35-year resident of Crownsville. Within a mile of the Crownsville Hospital, another thing I thought I'd hear more about tonight. Anyhow, I'm quite concerned because a longtime builder friend of mine in Annapolis, when he first heard about it, he said, "Oh, I know what this is about, sewer and water coming up General's Highway." And I've never heard that in the papers or anywhere else, but that is the ulterior motive. And there's all these lots, very expensive lots along the rivers and such like that, that did not perk and whatever. They'd just be wide open for development. And I mean, I like the little narrow roads we have in Brownsville and such, and that's just going to create more and more development. And obviously, I don't want to see that monstrosity that they talked about built there. I'm much more in line with what you've proposed and such, but please keep in mind we don't really need sewer and water to that area. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Cliff Anderson. I work part-time at the Compass Point Golf Course, and I worked for 20 years part-time at the Eisenhower Golf Course. And I'm here to be an advocate for these golf courses in two ways. Number one, I'd like to see the golf courses continue to be a vital part of the Parks and Recs Department and continued support by a steady stream of budget commitment for the maintenance and the occasional upgrades that are available. I think this is important for several reasons. Over the years, I've recognized that when you look at the customers and the people who take advantage of these recreational opportunities, it includes a broad base of demographics. Young children, high school golf teams, seniors will probably represent 50% of the clientele. We also offer discounted golf to members of the military, and especially since the closing of golf courses at Fort Meade. So I consider it to be a vital part of Parks and Recs, and I hope you do too. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick, before you start, I'd like to bring down Vince Leggett.
I got to come back. I got to take my glasses off for that one.
Kay Hoffman, Cassie Heckman, and Helen Wilkerson.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Boy, everybody has such compelling appeals. I'm sure if you hit the Powerball, you would have paid for them all. I've been an Anne Arundel County resident for 48 years, and I've been waiting decades for a golf course to get north of county. We only have one open public golf course right now. A benefit for that is it's open air. We get a lot of exercises. There's a lot of different age brackets that are playing this game. One thing about golf, that you can play it until you're 90, but there are a lot of golf tournaments that do a lot of benefits. I myself have done 5 for the athletics in North County because they're not as supported as other athletics in other parts of the county. I'm also been in the Wounded Warriors. We're doing one for the Maryland Hospital Children's Cancer Center. We're doing that in August. A lot of money is raised this way through this type of athletics. I would like to just put my appeal out there to keep it going. 2 is fine. Once Eisenhower opens back up again, I think we'll be great, but they should be just as important as all the other ones. And I would really like to get into this paddleball. I think it can. Pickleball. Pickleball. I think it'd be good. Thank you very much.
They're everywhere. Hi, my name is Cassie Heckman. I was born and raised in Annapolis. I'm currently a resident of Hillsmere community, and I am here to speak in support of the Hillsmere Elementary School feasibility study. I am a graduate myself of Hillsmere Elementary School and a graduate of Annapolis High School, class of '98. I moved away for college, and we moved our family back up here 3 years ago for our children to get the same educational experience I did, as opposed to the experience my husband did in North Carolina. Imagine my surprise when I show up to enroll my son in kindergarten 3 years ago, and Hillsmere Elementary School is the exact same building it was when I attended in the late 80s and early 90s. Not a thing has changed. We still have no central air conditioning. The only thing that we have are very rattly old window units and a very outdated boiler that runs pretty much either 365 days a year or never in the winter. Runs great in the summer. We also have extremely small classrooms. The reason this is so important to bring up is our class size is high. We have a first grade classroom of over 27 students, and the other classroom, I believe, has 26 students. And I know that when we pushed back initially about these numbers at the beginning of the school year, as a PTA, we were told, oh, well, other places have 28 and 29 students. Well, we have tiny classrooms that were built for 15 students. We also don't have updated security features. We do not have a covered area in our building, and we have a large walking population who stand out in the rain in the mornings before the building is open, which is a safety concern as well. In addition, I would just like to speak about the need for more teachers in this county to address this class size issue countywide, more special education services, more mental health services, and better teacher pay for both teachers and substitute teachers, because we have a massive shortage.
We need you to summarize, okay?
So in summary, please support the full school budget that has been proposed, and please keep Hillsmere in your thoughts and keep us on the budget. Thank you so much.
I'd like to just say good evening. My name is Vince Leggett, and thank you, Janice, for acknowledging me as a former president of the Board of Education, and County Executive Pittman and Councilwoman Rodovin. Thank you for providing us the opportunity. I'm also a member of the Board of Directors of the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center and stand in support of asking for funding. What we will say is we appreciate all the support that has been given over the years to the Legacy Center, and Janet Hayes herself was a part of a history committee that helped us, and education is a big part of it. Today we had 10 students from the Murray Moss Academy at Adams Park walk up Clay Street for a visit to the Wally H. Bates Legacy Center. There, Mrs. Cropper greeted her, showed the film Bringing Back Bates, talked about the period of segregated education in Anne Arundel County and what we're trying to do today. Last week, two of our board members, Dr. Linda Boyd and others, met with students from Change Engineering High School program here, or Engineering Change. And again, they talked about education and Wally H. Bates. So with the support for funding for an executive director, it's going to allow us to continue to work with the schools, not only in the greater Annapolis area, but throughout the county. And so we hope and pray that you support it. And if you need additional information, Dr. Boyd and her team is available to work with your staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I bring up a few more people? I want to bring up, I couldn't get the last name. The first name is Fred, who wants to talk about the public library. Come on down, Fred. Tony Cook and McGillen and Jamie McIntosh. Thank you. You may start.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Kay Hoffman. I'm a longtime county employee. First, I'd like to reiterate what Jean Tinsley said on behalf of the non-reps, but I'm here tonight to represent the small but very dedicated 311 call takers. For you that don't know, if you have an emergency, you dial 911. If you don't know which county department to call, you can call 311. We'll transfer you to what is hopefully the right department. About 2 months ago, IT got this project. We weren't given any additional resources, training, nothing. Your transition team report was dead on about the 311 center. So I'm not here to advocate for more money, but I would like to know what your vision is for the 311 calls and where you'd like to take it in the future. My internal team has some suggestions for you guys if you're interested, and how we think it can be better. We'd like to work with your administration on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. How are you? Like you said, last but best, yeah. My name is Helen Wilkerson. I am the president of the Secretarials and Assistants Association of Anne Arundel County Public School, known as SAAC. Even though the title starts with secretaries and assistants, we don't only represent them, we represent the technology support people, the AV media guys that's working here extra this afternoon. We also represent, media assistants, and many other areas of the Unit 4. I'm here to make it short and brief, and we too, along with the teachers, have felt the plight in the phantom of lost pay, furloughs over the years, and we're just asking you, and I'm asking you on behalf of the Secretary's assistants, to please consider the budget that has been proposed by Anne Arundel County Public School. And on another note, as a personal hat, I too am from Annapolis, and I just want to throw out there that Merlin Center, and I understand how it's falling. I attended that when it was Annapolis High School. So I know the building is crumbling. It was crumbling when I was there, and so I'm sure it's crumbling now. So I would like to, as on a personal note, to also put my support in to support the Merlin Center. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Fred Stilo, a resident of the Maritime Republic of Eastport. I want to really applaud you for helping to stimulate this level of citizen involvement. It's fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm here primarily to advocate for the public library. You've already heard about discoveries. I'm hoping that's a no-brainer. What's happening is just great there. I would also like to call your attention to long-range capital planning. The public libraries are across the area. The buildings are, like everything else, deteriorating. We've got a great landmark coming up in Annapolis now, Riviera Beach, but long range so that we know what's happening in the future would be helpful. The reasons, the social services that are being provided are obvious. We probably should throw in web, the internet services that are brought in, a great potential there. Indeed, the economic impact that the library brings as an anchor for this county is really spectacular. I'm thinking now Annapolis, but also around the BWI area. So there's more and more that library can give you. And again, thanks so much for this level of involvement. I really appreciate it.
Okay, is that you, Jamie?
Yes.
Can I call down John Malik, Kristen Schweitzer? Uh-oh. Mark Gass. Okay.
All right.
Hi, Jamie.
Hi, I'm Jamie McIntosh. I'm Vice President of Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. The fire department is continuing to experience critical shortages of staffing. That's throughout the county, but just as an example, in this area, I'll be going over a couple of things. The NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, recommends 4 responders on any piece of apparatus. We have places in the county where there's 1 and 2 only responding to your emergencies. And our call volume also has been increasing at least 5% every year. And in this district in particular, there are 2 stations, only 2 county stations in this district. One is Annapolis Neck. It's one of the newest stations that's been built. It was through the efforts of the community and the need in that community that it was built. But it only has 3 people there on the fire engine. They are also the dive team members, so when that dive team goes out, typically that station ends up sitting empty with none of our members there to respond to emergencies. There might be a piece of apparatus, a tanker that gets dispatched there to sit there with just one person. That's not enough. They can be out for hours also, just hours. We have a lot of coastline, obviously, in the county. There's a lot of places in the county that they can be responding to. West Annapolis is the other fire station in the area. It's one of the most populated areas. It has the mall, a large medical complex, the town center at Parole are all in that area. 75% of the calls in the county are medical calls. The BLS ambulance at West Annapolis is only staffed Monday through Friday during daytime hours. Emergencies don't follow that schedule. Nights and weekends, the BLS unit is staffed with members pulled off of the fire engine or the ladder truck. That means if there's a fire in the area, the $1 million ladder truck sits in the station collecting dust without anybody on it. I'm here to ask that the county executive support Chief Wolford's request, budget request, to attempt to start to address these staffing issues that we have here and throughout the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tony Cook. I went to my first town hall meeting ever a couple of nights ago at Severna Park. Was not able to speak. It got very busy, and I didn't know you had to sign up in advance, so I'm a novice. Anyway, I have a contrary view to everyone. So, first of all, you have a very difficult job. I was astounded by all the needs that were presented to you, both last night, or the other night, and tonight. But I'm an advocate for low taxes. I am proud that this county is low on the totem pole taxes. The state is the 6th or 7th highest tax state in the country. We are the 8th, per pupil we spend, we're the 8th highest funded school system statewide. I think that many of these things are very worthy, and I ask you to do your job and make those hard decisions without raising taxes. Okay?
Thank you.
I'm John Malik. I live in Crofton. I couldn't make it to the meeting there at Arundel Senior High. I have been teaching or I should say I retired as a teacher back in July. I put in 47 years in teaching, 32 years in Anne Arundel County, and 15 years working for the pages for the senators of the United States Senate Capitol. I'm here to speak about my taxes. I just finished my taxes. And the one thing I did want to talk about were two things. One, the state of Maryland has changed that itemized deduction part. So if I itemize I had to take the standard deduction in my federal, which means I cannot take it in the state of Maryland. So I have to take the itemized deduction. While doing that, when I looked at both angles, this year I'll pay $5,000 in taxes. If I would have done it the other way around by doing the total itemized deduction, I would have just paid $4,200. So this year I'm going to contribute $750 more to the state of Maryland. My second question too is getting down to this, what you would call your Maryland tax ratio, that is 0.025. Working that out, it came out to be about $2,600. If I do it with your complete ratio of 0.032, I will be paying $3,500 more. I'm sorry, $3,500 instead of $2,600. If I look at my taxes for the year 2019 coming up, I'm going to see roughly a 30% tax increase along with the state of Maryland and Anne Arundel County if you go through with a full 0.032 increase. What I'm asking you is, again, I'm a retired teacher. We live on Social Security, my wife and I have a Maryland state pension. So what I'm requesting is if you are thinking about raising it at 0.032, either delay it a year or raise it in small increments so it doesn't affect us people who are retired in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Schweitzer. I've lived in the county since 2001, and I'm a lifelong tennis player. I served for 3 years as the Director of Communications for the Tennis Alliance.
They're all waving at you.
I'm not even to that topic yet. Well done, everyone. I wanted you to know that I do still support tennis. I'm a player and a captain, and I want to thank you for putting the new Millersville tennis facility in the budget. It is needed still. Tonight, I'm here to talk about a different sport, which you can tell from the audience there. It is pickleball, which is the fastest growing sport in the United States. There are 3.5 million players that play this sport, and many of them are here tonight. If I could ask you to please stand and stay standing for a moment. Nice, very nice. For the last year and a half, I've been serving as the ambassador for the USA Pickleball Association right here in our county, focused on growing the sport of pickleball, number of players, but this is where you can help. Also more places to play the sport of pickleball. So thank you very much for standing, everyone. If you're still standing, you can sit for sure. Let's see, I wanted to share with you that all those people that just stood are also members of the Annapolis Pickleball Club. Today, we have 453 members. Many of those people that you just saw standing were also participants this past Saturday, 5 days ago, in the Mayor's Cup pickleball tournament that happened in Annapolis. And they are pictured on this poster here, which you can see later. Real quickly, I'm running out of time. The benefits of pickleball: very fast to learn. You can play the same day that you give it a try. If you want a higher level game, it's there too, mentally challenging. It's inclusive of all abilities, all ages. It's family friendly. It's easier on the body, especially the joints, than some other sports. It's fun, it's very social, and it's giving us all regular exercise, which we all know that we very much need to stay healthy. In the past 6 months, we've forged a very good working relationship with Anne Arundel County Parks and Rec, particularly with Ken Albin, and we would like to thank them. And we ask you to please support their recommended budget that is not in the preliminary budget yet. And that specifically is asking for $400,000 for each of the next 3-year increments to build more pickleball courts.
Please
very
summarize.
Specifically. Finally, we'd like to give you this gift for the council, all 7 of you. It contains 7 jump drives. On it is a 2-minute highlight video from this weekend's past event. You can watch it on your own time. We encourage you to do so. We encourage you to please put that money in the budget and come play pickleball with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mark, before you go, I'd like to call up Joe. I can't make out the last name, but I can see FOP 70. Winship Wheatley, Miss Coffin, and Earl Bradley.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Mark Gass. I'm the first Vice President of Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I'm going to take a moment to talk to you about the staffing levels in our county police department. The police department sets the minimum safe staffing levels for daily patrols. But over the past 10 years, despite massive amounts of development, our county police department added 1 position to patrolling our communities. Where we used to have extra officers assigned to patrol during the busier hours of the day, those positions have been left vacant for well over 5 years. Our patrol division regularly operates at minimum staffing levels. Is that really acceptable for our county, the bare minimum? In 2016, Steve Shue commissioned an independent study of the agency by the International Association of Chiefs of Police. At a cost of $175,000, the report showed that the agency was critically understaffed for the mission set for it. It is already known that our police officers are doing 2 to 4 times the work for less pay than other local jurisdictions, but this report showed that our agency is nearly 20% understaffed. Mr. Shue promptly buried that report from public view and did nothing to address the problems it highlighted. This has left our county police in a hole, struggling to hold back the tide. We have become a reactive agency. chasing after criminals after they commit crimes. Without enough officers, engaging in proactive community policing is a struggle. By the way, the busiest patrol post in the entire county is right here in Annapolis. For over a decade, your police officers have been pushed harder and harder to do more and more. It has resulted in some of the best and the brightest reaching exhaustion and leaving the agency. Too many leave because the extreme workload is simply not worth the pay, and they cannot support their families with less stress and more pay elsewhere. We can no longer delay fixing the most basic of problems. Your police officers need your support so that they can accomplish the increasingly difficult job of keeping our community safe. Thank you, sir.
Greetings, my name is Winship Wheatley. I'm from Annapolis, 45-year resident of Anne Arundel County. Mr. Pittman, Ms. Rodman, first I want to thank you for your service. I was a longtime employee with Anne Arundel Public Schools in several different capacities, and I know about this experience. I attended these meetings for at least 33 years. I want to make comment about the difficulty it is to balance all of these initiatives. It is certainly a challenge. I am these days a user of Maryland Hall, the Pitt Moyer Center, the golf courses, all of the other quality of life things that we all work so hard to get to. My point tonight, though, is I want to make sure that people know the value of the golf courses. I'm a user. We'll be there tomorrow at 9:35 with 20 of my fellow seniors. We all have $25 bets. Both of you, everyone here is welcome to join us at our tea time at 9:35 tomorrow morning. We greatly appreciate the golf courses, especially Eisenhower and Compass Point, in that they are affordable. The other options in the county are not so. I recall, too, when I first came to Anne Arundel County years ago, that recreation and quality of life services were few and far between. That has changed dramatically over time, and I thank the county and you for continuing to improve on those services. Thank you very much. You'll have a great evening.
Before you get started, let me pull up. It's getting late here. Wayne Taylor, are you still here? Aaron Lorenz. And then I have 4 pickleball enthusiasts, so I just want to find out if they're still here. Bill Redmond, Jessica Pruff, Mike. Are any of these people here that I'm calling? Okay, so I think the pickleball group is gone. Okay. So let me go back. Wayne Taylor, not here. Aaron.
I'm here.
Okay. Bill Redmond, not here. Ann Held.
Right here.
Come on down. All right. You can start.
All right. Good evening. Thanks for having us, hearing us out tonight. My name is Joe Solari. I'm the state trustee for the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. I want to start by saying conventional wisdom tells us investments bear fruit. As children and young adults, we invest in our education. As parents, we invest in our children. And as working professionals, we invest in our retirement. Now, as citizens of Anne Arundel County, it's time we invest in our community. A few moments ago, our Vice President, Mark Gass, brought up a number of threats facing our officers, our department, and ultimately our community at large. Years of financial neglect has left our department emaciated. If we are truly concerned about police and community relations, we need to start making those investments now. We need to build the infrastructure necessary to meet our needs of a growing department. We need to hire the officers necessary to handle our ever-increasing call volume, and we need to explore how technology can improve our day-to-day operations. Above all, we need to commit to investing robustly in financing these needs during these and each successive budgetary process. We simply can't afford to continue to do more with less. And as a point of privilege, while I'm up here, as a 10-year resident of District 6, I want to say, after listening to everyone here tonight, I can't help but notice that none of these speakers come before you looking for a handout. Under prior administrations, that's exactly how we would have been viewed, and that's how we would have felt. We all want the same things. We want to be treated like assets, not liabilities. And if you invest in us, you'll be proud of the returns that you'll get back. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Can somebody give him?
Just sit down.
Yeah. I think you can. Yeah, there you go.
Here, why don't you do that?
All right. Hello. My name is Earl Bradley. I'm here tonight as speaking as chair of the Anne Arundel Group, the Sierra Club, which has over 1,000 members in the county, and as myself as a resident of Anne Arundel County. I want to put out a plea to that the programs of the county protecting our natural resources and our waterway are adequately funded. A particular need is the additional stormwater management and sediment control inspectors. Right now they have impossible needs to meet, times to meet. No, we should have several more inspectors if we're going to make any attempt to meet their legal requirements. I also want to make sure that the Agricultural Preservation Program and the Programs Department of Recreation and Parks are funded. I also hope that the county would put money into finding appropriate sites for solar energy facility siting, such as the one that you have proposed for Crownsville. In particular, I also want to mention that too long the county has put the emphasis on tax cuts rather than providing revenues for needed facilities. So I strongly support proposals to raise the piggyback tax and, if needed, the educational ability to raise the property tax to meet the needs of the county. Too long we've been right at the bottom of the urban counties as far as the amount of revenues that we provide, and we should be, I think, following the needs that we emphasize on, identify what the priority needs are, and then finding adequate revenues to provide them rather than emphasizing on meaningless small tax cuts.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. You want to summarize? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Hi, my name is Erin Lorenz. I have been a resident of Annapolis since September, and I have been teaching in this building since 2013. And I am here today after directing rehearsal for The Little Mermaid. Welcome to our set. Thank you to our tech director. And our wonderfully talented students who have done a lot of the work here. I started my career in Montgomery County, and so I am not as far behind as some of the teachers who started in this county the same year that I did. And when I transferred here after my 6th year of teaching, I was told that I would start several steps behind. And what I did not realize was that there would seem to be no real intention of ever delivering on that contract of promised steps. And it really is that simple. We signed a contract and we signed up to teach to the best of our knowledge and our ability. Others not in the classroom have generated requirement after requirement on how this ought to be done, which we have met. And we did not sign up to have our contracted salaries, which amount to our plans for the future, be considered an optional budget line item. But like I said, I'm one of the lucky ones. I built up savings from my Montgomery County salary. And because I worked at Annapolis High School for 5 years, I was able to have a substantial portion of my graduate school loans forgiven. and I'm now free of student loans. But make no mistake, I am absolutely the exception. I had a colleague at Annapolis who started his first year teaching the same year that I transferred here. He quickly became one of my best friends, and I watched as he struggled with the salary and took on a second job. But eventually, the math stopped working. He would not be able to continue without reliable step increases, and later on, a jump to the master's degree pay scale. He would have to begin taking graduate credits, which his salary did not support, even when combined with the county's reimbursement plan. And so this past summer, our school lost one of its most creative and dedicated teachers. He is much too far from alone for this to be sustainable or acceptable. Now, AACPS teachers are coming to him, asking him how he left the profession, and we're draining our talent. This is not a way to serve our students. We all want to do better for them, and we need to do better for them. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to, while we're waiting for Ann, I'm going to bring up the last of the bunch here. We have Michelle Danoff, Mark Morbeck, Mike Lofton, Jasmine Parson, and Walt Schwink.
Hello, my name is Ann Heald. It's been a treat to be here today to hear about the kind of vital and valuable programs, activities, and civic leaders in our community. I feel kind of more connected. And that's really nice because my retirement job is doing disaster response and recovery work. So the last year and a half, I've been gone a lot. I appreciate, Stuart, how you've reached out because even far away, I could stay connected to the county. But I'd like to, we've been talking a lot about things that affect our daily activities, recreation, school, libraries. The Bay comes up, a dear part of our being a home. I'd like to ask you to do something at a higher level. I'd like you all to do a comprehensive strategic commission to look at the impact on the county and the Maryland with the largest coastal line ever of ocean rising and climate change. It's no longer a doomsday scenario. I work in broken communities where billions of property and tragic losses happen on a regular basis, and it's happening at an accelerating basis. And we're ostriches if we don't understand it's going to happen here, and much sooner than science predicted. Counties have a particularly vital role with the county building code, land use, et cetera, but and the state. So my recommendation or my request is for the county to partner with the state in taking a comprehensive, strategic, smart approach so we don't just make good incremental changes that make us feel good but don't really protect us or help us prepare for the future to come. I'd also ask the two of you to engage with NACO, the National Association of Counties, to engage with other county officials across the country. It's a huge priority, and we talk big picture, but we're not acting in a big way. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Danoff. I'm with the Neighbors of the Mayo Peninsula and the Peninsula's Coalition. I have now been to every one of the budget meetings this year, as well as the two from the previous. And I'd just like to say there is a vast difference between the two. Thank you all for truly keeping your word and listening and engaging the entire county. However, what I have heard from every corner of the county is the same: infrastructure first. Infrastructure that affects the health, safety, welfare, and economy of our county. Teachers, fire, EMS, police, corrections, roads, schools, sewers, and water are needs. Budgets are all about balancing needs versus wants. I've been struck by the testimonies of the needs versus wants. Wants like tennis courts, bathhouses, and pavilions are nice, but I challenge any of these requests to compare to all the absolute needs I've been hearing. I am disheartened to hear the teachers beg for step pay that they were promised in contracts. Firefighters begging for enough staff to be able to respond to our safety needs. Police and correction also begging for enough staff and pay to keep us safe. Roads around the entire county are in dire need of repair. So paving for parking lots and parks before fixing our roads that we all travel is irresponsible. Once are funded with bonds, and they must be paid back. A $1 million bond will cost us $542,500 in interest over a 30-year bond at 3.5% interest. $542,000. There are many more needs than wants. And as anyone who balances a household budget knows, if your roof is collapsing, you don't start digging for a new pool. I would also like to thank the fire and the teacher and police. I hope you get everything you're asking for because you give your all to us.
Thank you.
Mike Metzger, Clapham Institute. We're in Annapolis, Maryland. Our mission is to promote human flourishing. We build coalitions to improve cities, make better cities. And this is my friend tonight who is with us, as you know, Vanessa Bright. We're here advocating for Vanessa Bright. We have a new project going on in town called Affordable Annapolis 2030, an ambitious moonshot to see if we could end systemic poverty by 2030. It's a private-public civic initiative. Monday night at our lab, we had Vanessa speak. We have discovered, as you well know, there is a correlation between recidivism and sustained rates of poverty, systemic poverty, roughly a 1 to 4. For every one person that is reoffends, you have about 3 to 4 in the family unit sinks into poverty. Hence, if we could actually end recidivism by 2025, we would more than likely make a major dent in poverty in this city. That's why we call it Affordable Annapolis, which is increasingly unaffordable for most people, roughly 40% of the population. So we are advocating tonight for Vanessa. Our lab pulled together some signatures to say she is opening the Maryland Reentry Center this summer, and we think the highest return on investment you could make would be invest in this civic pilot project to see if, in fact, we could create a signature project that would begin to end recidivism if it was bankable, scalable, and repeatable. The best way to discover that, invest in Vanessa. She doesn't need me to speak for her. Some of you know her. She's sharp. She's a lot sharper than I am. So I'm going to give you these signatures. Thank you for your time.
Hello, everyone. This is my name is Jasmine Parson. This is my first time, so I'm a little nervous. So just bear with me. But I'm here to speak on behalf of AACC, and just to tell you guys about the impact that AACC has on me. The impact that I have seen while attending the AACC is the impact on my life. AACC has given me the confidence to be inspired and the motivation to be successful. AACC makes me want to be a better person and ensures me that my dreams can come true. Through hard work and dedication, AACC ensures me that the sky is the limit. I have embarked on new relationships amongst faculty and students, which has created beautiful bonds. Being focused and not giving up has become permanent words in my vocabulary thanks to AACC. The staff and faculty at AACC is what makes it was what makes them different from any other college. Seeing your success seems like a daily routine for them, which brings them a sense of joy. I knew this since being introduced to the wonderful staff and the professors. My professor, particularly Professor Tracy Lloyd, she's the reason that keeps me really coming back amongst the staff as well. She commits herself to the success of every student as she encounters, I'm sorry. As she did with myself. The faculty gives me hope and belief that there is always a possibility, that they always have your back. The staff and faculty, friendly faces, and adequate knowledge ensures that they enjoy what they do and that they are here for you. So I encourage the $4 million increase in the county funds to increase the pay of the faculty and staff because they help build a better future for me and every student that attends in the county. The pay increase equals to a 3% pool of funds that will be allocated among the employees consistent with the college's compensation system.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
My name's Jesse Pratt. I'm on the list, but you didn't call. Mr. Peak told me to just come on up. Is that okay?
Yes, Jesse.
Okay.
I did call you. I just didn't get your last name here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Jesse Pratt. I don't live in this district. I live in the Lakeshore community, but what I want to talk about affects all the districts. I'm a physician assistant. I've been so for 16 years. I've worked the majority of my career in the intensive care unit. Prior to that, I worked as a registered nurse for 2.5 years at a trauma center, and prior to that, I volunteered for an ambulance, riding in an ambulance for a volunteer. Also an advanced life support instructor, a basic life support instructor, and previously been certified in pediatric advanced life support. In May of last year, my son Dylan required EMS. My wife and I had heard a scream from across the street, and I ran out and saw him lying on the floor with a giant pool of blood sitting in his lap. I did exactly what I've been trained to do and what I've trained others to do, and that's to activate the EMS system immediately. So I asked his 9-year-old friend to run to the neighbor's house, and my wife to run home across the street and to call 911. That did happen. They called. In the meantime, I was able to identify that he was bleeding from his groin from a femoral vein, which is not a vein you want to cut into. I went underneath his shorts. I saw about a 6-inch gap, and I had my wife go get a box of medical supplies that I happened to keep in the house because of my profession. I was able to control the bleeding. We placed the call at about 7:02 p.m., exactly 7:02 p.m. from my wife's phone, and the ambulance finally arrived at 7:19, according to what the information I was given. That's 17 minutes. From what I understand, the national average should be somewhere about 7 to 8 minutes nationwide, I believe. So not even close. It was a very long time. Fortunately, we got him into the ambulance. The ambulance driver was excellent, got him to Hopkins quickly, safely. Hopkins was excellent. He went to surgery right away, was out of the hospital within 2 days, playing baseball in 3 weeks. Afterwards, we thought about this and were able to reflect on it and realized, well, I had found out that the ambulance that I live next to the Lakeshore Fire Department, less than 2 miles from my house. There was a paramedic sitting in the firehouse that evening. There are 2 other firehouses that are next to being closed. Those 3 firehouses did not respond. The ambulance came from the Early Heights Fire Department, picked up the paramedic, and finally got to my house. I found out that Lakeshore does not have a paramedic unit. They do not have an advanced life support unit. And if you look up on the county website, there are a number of fire stations, and as these gentlemen mentioned, they are not equipped. So they simply were not able to respond because they did not have advanced life support unit. When I asked my wife what she thought would have happened if I hadn't been there, simply stated, my son would have died. Okay.
Jesse,
Okay.
we're going to have to summarize,
Okay.
but you know what? We can continue this conversation
Okay.
afterward because Constituent Services is here.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. I just want to make one recommendation, and that's to put an advanced life support unit at all the firehouses. Otherwise, you're going to have to train every member of this community how to handle medical emergencies. So I think the first option is feasible and really should be the highest priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
I don't have nearly as compelling a story as that.
Thank you, Mike.
I'm Mike Lofton. I'm a 55-year resident of Anne Arundel County. I am a retired public employee, and please raise my taxes. I'm happy to do that, and I'll help you get it done. I put 2 kids through the school system. One was a special ed kid, the other was an advanced placement, and the system handled both of them beautifully, and they're productive adults today. I've rarely had to call the police and fire, but when I do, they come and they've helped me out of some tough spells, so I'm happy to support getting the money that's necessary to do this. I'm here tonight as a member of the Recreation Advisory Board and chair of the Water Access Commission, and I want to restate, as I did at the initial meeting in Southern High School, that the county needs to continue its program to get access to the bay for all of the citizens, not just the people who live in waterfront communities and water-privileged communities. Unfortunately, the vast majority of county residents don't have that kind of a lifestyle, and they don't have access. If you read the current park master planning document, in fact, the last two, public access to the water is the #1 recreation deficiency in this county. And yet, 100% of the residents are paying flush fees and stormwater fees and transfer taxes when they buy property to fund program open space, which has bought much of the property. The county has vast holdings of waterfront land. What we haven't had is adequate leadership to make these facilities available. Now, you're going to hear people tell you that these are niceties, not necessities. I disagree entirely. The people that are excluded are the people that are always on the outside looking in, that rely on public services and public facilities for things like recreation. Many of the objectors live in nearby waterfront communities and they've had use of these properties for decades. It's high time for that to end. That is wrong. The idea that there are higher financial priorities, many of these projects can be financed through program open space. Senator Beitel got the program open space changed recently to permit financing of water access improvements through POS. The Waterway Improvement Fund, which is a state fund, is dedicated for this. These are funds that don't compete with the general capital budget. You may have to put a small amount of capital budget in, but you're leveraging that many times over. There's a federal land and water conservation fund. There are ways to do this if you're committed to the goal, and I urge you to be committed to the goal. It's an important one. It's how, in the end, we'll create the political advocates that will indeed save this bay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello. First, I want to thank you folks for your service. It's not easy, obviously, but it makes a difference, and your strength makes a big difference, and I appreciate that, and I also appreciate the opportunity of these meetings. My question is, in your budget presentation and from what I read on the home page, a high priority is health as well as safety, education, and security. And of course, I strongly endorse those. And I would offer to you that there was an article in the ARP magazine last year, and that's the over 50 retired club community, whatever you want to call it, as well as Forbes magazine, that if you play tennis, you will live 10 years longer. That's an incredible health statement, okay? Now, the problem I run into is when I look at the budget, I would expect to see a high priority for tennis courts, especially since those tennis courts are also being used for pickleball. So you get a consolidation. The benefits from a health point of view are recognized in these medical articles. I would urge you to consider the already appropriated discretionary funds as well as supplemental appropriations to build more tennis courts. And of course, in the future budget, put a high priority on it. The other thing I would call to your attention in comparing other counties, this county has 25% of the tennis courts in a 50-mile radius. The other areas, PG County, for example, have double to triple the amount of tennis courts in the county. I would urge you to consider the health benefit because it applies to everyone who plays tennis and, of course, pickleball. And I would also ask you to consider a supplemental appropriation this year, as well as using discretionary funds this year, and put a high priority on tennis courts for the next year.
Thank you. We need you to summarize, sir.
The summary is that if you would like to have a large part of the community healthy, live 10 more years, according to these medical reports in September of last year, I would urge you to put a high priority on putting tennis courts in our county and be one of the best counties in terms of the number of tennis courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron Snell, did I call you up? Thank you.
My name is Mark Morlock, and I think you called me before, but you mentioned my last name is Murbeck.
Oh, tell me what it is. It is what?
Again, it's Mark. Last name is Morlock.
Morlock. Thank you.
Morlock, as written on the page there, and I'll return after Ms. Snell. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erin Snell. I'm here tonight as the PTA president for Hillsmere Elementary School. I'm the parent of 3 kids. I've also been a teacher, elementary, middle, GED teacher, teacher trainer, teacher coach, and I wanted to speak on 2 pieces tonight. One is to just speak on behalf of Hillsmere Elementary and the importance of keeping the feasibility study in the budget. Our school just needs it. It's very distracting. So in our tiny classrooms with the buzzing air conditioning, and in the summer I was there and they kept having to re-bleach parts of the school because of mold issues. It's just not okay. And our cafeteria that functions as our auditorium, cafeteria, and gym doesn't have ventilation, doesn't have air conditioning. So not only can our kids on rainy days not go to the gym because it's a cafeteria too, there's not a place for them. So it really needs to be fixed. And then secondly, now is the time to invest in our schools. And it has been needed for a long time now. And our teachers are the most important people out there. And I have the opportunity through some of the work that I do to listen to lots of parents, teachers, school counselors, and police. And I have been hearing alarm calls coming from everybody, hearing police officers talking about the kids with trauma that they're seeing at very young ages in our schools, hearing the school counselors who have 700 kids on their caseload in an elementary school not able to meet the needs of their students, and hearing the parents saying that their kids' needs are not being met. I also volunteer with high school students who are just seeing the achievement gap in real life, that here in Anne Arundel County in this cluster, we are not meeting the needs of many of our students of color in particular, and we need to invest in high quality teachers because we know it works. If you get the best teachers and you give them the opportunity to do what they know how to do, they can close that gap. So I'm just asking you tonight to invest in what is most needed, and this is preventative in terms of all the other things, in terms of recidivism and people not going to prison in the first place. So that is my ask. Now is the time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Snell, and thank you, Ms. Heckman. My name is Mark Morlock. I am a Hillsmere resident of Annapolis, and along with Ms. Heckman and Ms. Snell, advocating strongly for the feasibility study to advance and be expedited for Hillsmere Elementary, and that the Hillsmere Elementary School project be moved to number 1 on the replacement and redevelopment list. Under Helen Mediaski and other principals at Hillsmere Elementary, Hillsmere was actually at the top of the list and was booted down several times over the last 10 years. I used to live in West Annapolis. I personally own 3 different properties, residential and commercial, paying taxes into Annapolis, Anne Arundel County, and Maryland. West Annapolis Elementary School was one of the oldest elementary schools in the county as well. And Hillsmere Elementary, like the prior West Annapolis Elementary in Germantown, is of the same vintage, and that vintage is insufficient. Outside of my day job, where I work about 50 hours a week as an institutional investment consultant for public pension funds, multi-employer, single-employer, tax-exempt ERISA plans, as a fiduciary under ERISA, as well as a fiduciary under public pension law. I also volunteer at Hillsmere 1 day a week on Fridays at 8 a.m. in the chess club and at 10:15 a.m. in a 4th grade teacher's class and at 1:15 p.m. in a 2nd grade teacher's class. I've done so for the last 4 years, and the average class size, of which I volunteer in the last 3 months, is about 23 children per class. The county site establishes a 17-to-1 ratio, so I also want to see that corrected and basically separated so that teacher averages and students is one ratio, and then assistants to that process are another. Schools are overcrowded. Teachers need to be given the tools they need to effectively teach. From personal experience, I can tell you there's an average of 3 to 4 children, if not 5, in remedial condition in the classes in which I currently volunteer. A 2nd grader who cannot add 3 plus 2 plus 1 to equal 6 and not rely on educational technology is an absolute travesty. And this is what I witnessed last week.
Can we have
So
you
I will
summarize?
conclude
Yes.
to say that I want your full advocacy to move the Hillsmere Elementary feasibility project to the top of the list, with the renovation concurrent to follow that within 12 months, with a shovel breaking the ground and a plan to be put in order. There are 4,000 households that feed into Hillsmere Elementary, and this is long overdue. Secondly, in terms of the educational budget for the county, I actually want to see a 3% increase across the board, and the funds should be found from somewhere, whether it means reinstating the 287G program, where there's $4 million left on the table sent back to ICE that we're basically financing through other sources, whether it be other grants, whether it be appeals to the state to re-optimize the gaming proceeds revenue share from 5 different casinos in the state, all of which can be sources, and it's unclear whether or not those sources are even optimized. Long-term budgeting, 30, 40-year triple P programs, using public-private partnerships to potentially finance some of these other initiatives could also be used. I'm not sure if that's been optimized either.
Sir.
So at this point,
yes,
I'll conclude
please, I really
my
need you to
remarks.
summarize.
So I appreciate everyone's ears and eyes, and most importantly, time, because it's now 8:40.
Yep.
For the next meeting, I'll make sure that pizzas are delivered.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So this concludes our testimony. I'm going to have Lisa Ravian come up and have her closing remarks. Thank you.
I'll make this brief because if you're still sitting here, that means you heard everything that I heard, and you don't necessarily need me to reiterate everything on my 3.5 pages of notes. But I just want to express to you, obviously we have a lot of work to do. We have our work cut out for us in terms of strengthening our public services, strengthening our public schools, making sure our environment is protected the way it needs to be, improving our recreational facilities, improving our access to affordable housing, sustaining and growing our library system. We definitely have a lot of work to do. At the same time, I just want to say thank you because you expressed through the things that you're asking for such a beautiful vision of District 6 and Anne Arundel County and the city of Annapolis, and I believe in your vision. I believe in the things that you want for our community because those are the things that I want too. And so I just want to say thank you. Please know that everything is on these notes, and I've heard you. And if you'd like to speak with me more, send me an email. My email address is, you can look it up on the county website, but if you have a pen handy, it's just my name, lisa.rodvian@aacounty.org, and I'd love to speak more with you. But thank you for sharing what I think is a beautiful vision, and let's just work to get there as quickly as we can. So thank you.
Yeah, usually at these I've been reviewing all the issues that people bring up, and then I go on and on and on and on, and you never get home. So I'm going to make this much more brief since we've got a small group here at the end. But you know, the best place is the slogan that we kind of came up with for Anne Arundel County. And as I was sitting here listening tonight, I wrote down under the best place, it's actually the best people. That you know, the vision that you all articulated tonight, I mean, just everybody who comes down here to the microphone are such good people. And you're talking about the community that you love. And what was what was striking to me about tonight was that there was so much talk about institutions in the community that people just adore. So when people were talking about their libraries, it was you know, the commitment to these institutions, and the Wiley Bates Legacy Center, and the tennis center creating an institution. And Maryland Hall, you know, that was the first night that the Maryland Hall troops came out, because this is in the District 6. And you know, I mean, I feel the same way. My daughter grew up in her teenage years with the Footwork's percussive dance ensemble at Maryland Hall, and I spent hour after hour after hour waiting for her to get done with her classes, and I even came to love that old place. But it's just really moving to hear what everybody has to say. People love their community, and you know, even though people like to rag on government, people love what their government is doing, and that's why they're asking for more. I just want to close by saying that by thanking some of the staff, county staff that are here, that don't have to be here. Some of them have come to all of these. I've specifically said to the department heads, you don't need to come to all of these. But tonight we had Greg Africa, who's still here, who's the new head of inspections and permits, just in his second week on the job. And Phil Hager, who's come to a bunch, who's still here, who hasn't left, planning and zoning. They know what they're going to hear, and they're hearing it, and they're probably emailing their staffs as you all talk and telling them what needs to get addressed. And we have Brandy Francis, who's been at all of these, who's doing the media work and making sure that the word gets out on social media. And you know, we've had from constituent service from my office, Janice Jones. Ben Burge, our chief administrative officer, has been at all of these, and he sits through the whole thing, and I know he's listening, and Sergio Polanco and Maria Casasco and Reese Peak and Deja Jones, all from constituent service. So I think we should thank all of the staff for the county. It's not always, yeah. You don't always get the thanks that you would like to get, but to me, they're all our heroes, and they're really working to serve the public. And I'm proud to be their boss, their new boss in some cases. And obviously, I'm proud to represent all the citizens of this county. So we're going to get to it. We're going to have our budget ready by May 1st, and we won't all be happy, but hopefully lots of us will be. Thank you.